2020 taxes. Several changes from 2019 tax returns could make you eligible for more stimulus money. If you had a baby in 2020, if you claimed another dependent in 2020, or if you made less in 2020 than 2019. And don't worry, you won't lose any stimulus money if you made more in 2020. But be ready to wait for your check. The IRS has until the end of the year to send plus-up payments.
If you don't get it by December 31st, then it will be on your next year's tax return.
Another reason for delay? If you didn't have the correct amount of stimulus money.
Low-income families can also get stimulus checks this year. The majority of taxpayers received their refunds in November, though some people are still waiting for money. The State Revenue Service said that those are eligible who have not received the checks yet should just wait by December 29th to receive the stimulus, if you haven't gotten one already. And it still needs to clear several steps before it becomes law. Last week, the mayor said that he'd revealed the details of the plan to send monthly checks from Missouri to low-income families. The plan calls for using $5 million in federal crisis aid to send $500 to families for 18 months. Now, around 3 million Massachusetts residents are set to receive tax rebates worth around 14% of what they paid in state income taxes. Folks, get ready for stimulus, it's here. I finally have some good news about the fourth stimulus check, and this time it is the truth. There is a ton of information that I want you guys to know about the fourth stimulus payment. A ton of news that you have to cover. The rebates will be sent directly to taxpayers' bank accounts through direct deposit. Otherwise, the rebate will be sent as a check in the mail for those who do not have direct deposit set up. The total received for the rebates is a set of fractions of one paid income tax, meaning higher earners will earn much more than that. A person who makes 35 grand will receive 200, while someone who makes $1 million would receive 7,000. There's plenty of time for people to file a tax return, as the deadline for this rebate is extended through September of next year. Prices rose less than expected, and the latest sign is that the runaway inflation has been gripping the economy even worse. The Labor Department reported again that the Consumer Price Index, which measures a wide basket of goods and services, rose just 0.1% from the previous month and increased 7.1% from a year ago. Economists had already been expecting a 0.3% monthly increase and a 7.3% 12% monthly rate. So the increase from a year ago, while above the Federal Reserve's target for a healthy inflation level, was tied for the lowest since November. It excludes volatile food and energy prices, and so-called the Core Consumer Price Index rose 0.2% and 6% on an annual basis. Joe Biden celebrated today the positive Consumer Price Index report. He said that it showed inflation is easing in the country ahead of the holiday season. Biden also said we had learned last month that the inflation rate has come down from what many experts expected, in a world where inflation is rising in double digits in many major economies around the world. The easing suggests that the Federal Reserve's interest rate increase could be working as intended, and the Fed may be able to change and achieve the soft landing it wants to achieve, and avoid a large-scale economic shutdown. The report is likely to be reassuring of the Fed and the central bank Jerome Powell when it comes to its meeting on Wednesday. The Fed is expected to only increase interest rates by half point, as opposed to the 3/4 points it has deployed throughout the year. The report marks the 5th month in a row where the rate of inflation has declined in the United States. Biden said, "I want to be clear, it's going to take time to get inflation back to normal levels as you make the transition to a more stable and steady growth." Biden said he hopes prices will return to normal by the end of the year, if not sooner, but he stressed he cannot make that prediction. And the president also said that many Americans are currently struggling, and the economic news provides a little bit of joy for the holidays. So, is that enough, everybody, from President Biden? Is he doing enough for the American people? And do you think that more stimulus payments should be sent out before the end of the year? Because I definitely support more stimulus right now, especially during 2022 and 2023. A ton of new good news, but a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SDI. Here's the most important news that I want you guys to know. Now, millions of taxpayers could also face a tax refund shock when they file their tax returns due to the expiration of many crisis benefits that lawmakers had designed to help people weather the crisis. Mark Steber, Chief Tax Information Officer, told reporters that many families may see smaller refunds when they file their taxes in early 2023, as the current tax year is just expensive. And the benefits that juice the refunds this year have largely lapsed, ranging from federal stimulus to the expanded tax credit. Even the IRS warned taxpayers that checks may be smaller next year, and the tax agency cautioned that refunds may be smaller in 2023. That means less stimulus money, but it's not what we want to hear. Because, folks, the typical tax refund is around $2,700, or roughly what happens to taxpayers and what they got in 2021 for their taxes. Each taxpayer situation is different.
For funding the government in the next fiscal year. It will ensure the federal government has all the resources necessary to serve the public at full capacity. It will make sure our troops in uniform are taken care of. And I expect an omnibus will contain priorities both sides want to see passed into law, including more funding for Ukraine and the Electoral Count Act, which my colleagues in the Rules Committee have done great work on. It'll be great to get that done. After all the work we've done this year to pass important new bills, like the PACT Act and the CHIPS and Science Act and so much more, a CR into next year could prevent the investments secured in these bills from going out the door. The vast majority of us don't want to go down that road. So again, the best option, the most responsible option, is to proceed toward an omnibus, even if it won't contain everything both sides want. Now on judges. Later this morning, it will be my honor to come before the Senate Judiciary Committee to introduce an exceptional public servant, Arun Subramanian, whom President Biden nominated on my urging to serve as district judge for the Southern District of New York. Here on the floor, Arun Subramanian is one of the few South Asians that are on the bench. We need more, but he will pave the way, and it's my intention to continue to support South Asians to come to the bench. Here on the floor, we'll also proceed with the confirmation of Dana Douglas to serve as Circuit Court Judge for the 5th District, which covers Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Judge Douglas's confirmation today will be significant for a few reasons. For one, Judge Douglas will be the 28th.
It's on the way right now, everybody. More and more fourth stimulus payments have been approved. Congress is going to take huge action this week to establish new financial assistance programs, and millions of Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and RRB beneficiaries can expect to receive new stimulus payments. States have announced their action plan to address the rising cost of living that so many people are facing. President Biden has also made announcements on how the White House plans to further lower prices for the American people.
This means taking health care to the people, often the hardest to reach and often left out, and the most medically underserved. So I urge President Biden to sign this bill into law without delay to improve health outcomes across the board and make a positive difference in people's lives. Thank you, and I yield back.
And while U.S. gas prices have come down from the highs seen this summer, they are still clearly weighing on President Biden, who today repeated demands for oil companies to charge less. During a meeting of the White House Competition Council, Joe Biden said last month the price of oil worldwide is down, and we haven't seen the lower prices reflected at the pump. Meanwhile, oil and gas companies are still making record profits and billions of dollars more in profit. And according to the AAA, U.S. oil futures fell 9.2% in August. Gas prices during the same month were also down, dipping to 9.2%. As Biden noted in his speech, gas prices across the country remain uneven. They are substantially higher in western states due to a lack of refining capacity. Biden told reporters, "My message is simple. To the companies running gas stations and send these prices, bring down the prices you're charging at the pump to reflect the cost